question page will show up as I keep getting updates from the forest.
So far, so good. Right behind her. After a few weeks, it won't seem good, and then you'll just be like, no, I won't. We'll be like, oh, she's submitted her resignation. So much. Yeah. How was it?
Yeah, I was on my computer. Writing a survey.
But it's
my neighbor's house. 2 hours fighting with it. I emailed him.
I was over down the street. You trying to keep
Sherry's not going to be alone on the road now?
Nope.
You're not working it usually.
It's a view now that I told you. The best way to not get viruses is to be smart.
Nicole's father called up my Wednesday last week. Oh, let's get my mail done. Small price to pay for a broad range on the street here at home.
You just got to learn to train yourself to not click on things. I've never had
Her desk is perfect. How does it work for you? So I sit where she stands. I can't do that.
before you click the button.
Fall apart too. You have to ask Keith. Just in the same. Do we need a microphone or are you guys good? We're good.
Welcome. This is one of the bigger crowds that we get at this time, so thanks for coming this afternoon. And we like to welcome any employees that this is their first time at the meeting. And is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to stand up and introduce yourself?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Charlie. I'm from MedSurg, and I am Merritt. That is all there is. Yes.
There you are. You want? you'd like to say anything else, that'd be helpful to us.
No,
Where you're from,
I'm actually
things you like to do.
I'm from Texas. And I don't know what I like to do yet because this is very different from where I came from.
Married, kids?
No,
What
not
part of
married.
Texas?
I'm from North Central Texas. I'm not married, but I do have 2 bonus children in the relationship that I'm in. And where I came from, it's an elevation of 900. This is 6,000. And it's very not as heavy. So it's very different, but I love it. Yeah, so I think that's it. Yeah. I'm getting ready for snow. Bracing myself.
What town are you from?
Wichita Falls. I'm from North Central Texas.
So, does it snow at all?
We get about an inch.
That's about all we get.
Freeze an hour.
Yeah, an inch an hour?
An
That was
hour,
our
We've had snow once. We had like a 4-foot day one time when I was like 8. So that's about it.
Well, it's a wonderful place.
It's not as like.
I love it here. I think it's great.
Glad you're here. And then I guess everyone will share with you what's great about Star Valley and things to do. So welcome Charlie, and then Amber is also new RN on MedSurg. Lacey, RN in MedSurg. Michaela, CNA in the Care Center. Hannah's a dietary tech. You'll see her actually more on the MedSurg floor, it seems like, than in the kitchen. So that's the position. And then Tara is a ward clerk in MedSurg. Laura Lee is ward clerk in MedSurg as well. Tristan, ward clerk MedSurg. Amanda, patient access coordinator. Sadie in RN MedSurg. Destiny, environmental services. Victoria, admissions. William, who's here. You want to introduce yourself again, William?
I'm William from IT.
What else?
I like to learn about everything.
You're from Star Valley?
I'm from Idaho Falls. Born and raised, went to college in Rexburg, and then moved over here for work 7 years ago.
Great. And then Ruby is CNA in the Care Center. Alexandria, environmental services. Leanna, what? How do I say it? Liana?
Just leave that.
Lee?
Call her Lee.
Admissions.
And then our open positions and a reminder, of course, of the referral bonus. You refer somebody and they stay with us for 6 months, you'll get a $500 referral bonus. Make sure that your name's listed as the person that made the referral. Sometimes we have arm wrestles over who gets the referral. So.
I want to spend a few minutes just talking about from you what's going well in your department. What are some new things? What are some positive patient feedback that you've heard recently? Are there great examples of teamwork that you've seen from your department or other departments? This is a great time that we'd just like to share those things. I'll start with a few from the previous meetings. And so this Monday was the first tele-oncology visits that we've had here, Star Valley Medical Center. And so that's fantastic that's just started. And so every single Monday, there's a time block for the oncologist. This is actually out of Intermountain that will see our patients via telemedicine. And then we've also, because of that relationship, we'll be able to have chemotherapy delivered here as well. So that's nice to have that in the infusion center. So that started on Monday.
Bren, you may have already mentioned this, but is there just one oncologist, or are there multiple oncologists that are filling that time?
It's primarily one, Dr. Johnson out of Logan right now.
Is that who a lot of our oncology patients were already seeing?
You know, it's scattered. I mean, there's a lot that go to Huntsman. There's some with Briery, Dixon. I mean, there's a variety. But it's good. I mean, really the focus has been how do we make the care as local as possible.
I think there will be 9 more coming.
9?
So,
9 more physicians?
9 more oncology, telemeds.
A lot more than I thought. Thank you. Cool.
I just wanted to thank the auxiliary for a phenomenal event that they put on this last week in the Positive Living Community Conference. There were about 360 people that attended that day, and some really good feedback that came back. So I know a couple people that are here went there, and I think they enjoyed it.
No, she did Elizabeth Smart did a great job, and then I enjoyed the community conversation and the questions that came up. Good conversation to have and to keep following up on. And then this came up in the last meeting as far as, which this to me is just amazing. It's amazing what type of team members we have here. There was an example given of a patient that was going home that needed his or her house organized and put into order before that patient could go back home safely. And so a team from Star Valley Medical Center went to that home and arranged and organized and moved a lot of belongings in that home in order for that patient to be able to go home safely. So I thought that was really above and beyond for them to do that for that patient. Any things you wanted to share?
I've had a couple recently that they're disappointed that they have to be transferred. They understand that they need to be, but I think that's a pretty big compliment that they would rather stay here and have us take care of them.
Thank you. Yeah. And that is right, that they want to be here, they want to stay here.
Yeah.
And so as we go through today, if you have questions right now, please speak up. If you have questions as the topic comes up, please speak up. And then of course at the end, if you have questions, let me know. Oops.
All right, I want to just try to be as transparent as possible on our medical insurance and give you an idea of what we're looking at and some of the challenges that we have currently with our medical insurance. We are self-insured, and being self-insured has some benefits for you as employees and the medical center in that we can save quite a bit of money on our insurance. Basically, we're not paying a lot for other fees or things that are not necessary. Our experience has been that if we work under a self-insured plan, that it's a lot cheaper for everybody involved. Basically, the way self-insurance works is we have the employer premiums that come in and the employee premiums that come in, and then it goes to a pot that is used to pay for the medical expenses. With a self-insured plan, a lot of times you'll have what they call a stop-loss insurance. So anytime you have a claim that hits a certain level, that claim will go to what the stop-loss insurance, which is basically a secondary insurance that kicks in and makes it so that the medical center is not on the hook for these huge expenses that could potentially come through some sort of a long-term claim or something like that. So if you look at this number right here, this is the gross plan cost. So $3.2 million. If you look at this number right here, this is what we budgeted for our plan, so $2.8 million. And when we collect premiums from the employees, those premiums are designed so that we can meet those gross budget costs. Anything additional, so if it's more than that, you notice your premiums don't go up throughout the year, they stay the same. If you're on a family plan, it stays the family plan premium for the whole year. But the medical center does pick up a big chunk of the premium cost for the plan. And basically what we have going on right now is our plan cost is quite a bit more than what we budgeted for. So it's 13.2% higher than what we had budgeted. And then what that means for us is that the group that we work with, Mercer, is our broker, and they help us with our plan design. They help us find a third-party administrator that actually manages our plan. So right now it's United or UMR. And they help us come up with everything to be able to actually administer that plan. And they have actuaries that look at all of our numbers and come up with a projection. And right now they're saying that if we change nothing, if we just stay status quo, leave everything the same, that we'll need to see a 21% increase to premiums in order to meet the costs of the insurance plan. I'm not telling you this to try and incite fear. I'm just telling you this to let you know that we do have some unique challenges. Some of the people have asked, well, why do we have, why are our costs so high? This year we've had several large claimants. We've had 9 claimants currently that have met the stop loss deductible, so $100,000, and then we've had several more that are in what they consider a large claimant. I think we had like 25 or something that were over $25,000. So several large claimants have contributed to that plan not performing well. So what questions do you have? What can I help explain or answer? And I think it's important to know too that we're trying to be creative in coming up with plans that will help us reduce that premium increase. So there are certain things that we can look at. We can look at increasing our stop loss deductible from $100,000 to say $120,000. That may help. We can look at plan design. It may make sense at this point to do an additional plan that has a higher deductible on it. So there's several things that we're trying to figure out as far as how we're going to manage our way through this. But we also didn't want to have this hit you in November and just not be prepared for it. But it is not looking very positive right now. So
you're not really very sure of where it'll go at this point, though, right?
We don't have any concrete plan designs right now. One of the things that we did is we looked at narrowing our network. Sometimes that can help with your expense to your plan, and even with narrowing the network, it really doesn't look like that's going to be a huge change to it. But everything's on the table at this point as far as our options, and we don't want to go downhill in the benefits that we offer to our employees. Some of the other things we could do is maybe look at the allowable amounts. So if you go to the urgent care, we may be able to say, okay, normally we charge, our allowable amount is $110 or whatever. We may be able to reduce that as a medical center and try to have some cost savings there too. But that's just really taking money from one pot and kind of putting it in a different. So any other questions you have? So it's unfortunate, but we wanted you to be aware of it, and we wanted to let you know we're doing everything we can to try and make it as painless as possible, and try to manage it positively, so. Bren or Chad, do you have anything to add to it, or?
I would just emphasize that, which is always the case whether you're self-insured or otherwise, I mean, our premiums are based on our experience. And so whatever our employees experience, whatever those experiences are, that's always gonna represent the premium that exists. And that's exactly what's happening. But that's also that's why we have insurance. And so, you know, we have a lot of large claimants this year, but that's this year. We don't know what will happen next year. But that's why insurance is so important, because I think any year we could be one of those large claimants, because you just don't know what happens. And so this year was just a bad year. And so then we just have to do our best to manage through it, but this has just been a bad year of health experience for us.
Yeah, we keep seeing the large claims and thinking, man, no more, so.
Just out of curiosity, how did this year compare to previous years in terms of large claims and things like that?
So it's actually, looking at the past years, it's pretty close to the norm from what I've seen so far. One thing that was a little bit surprising is how quickly we got to the large claims. We had several large claims early in the year, and you know, hopefully we have a good year the remainder of the year. But
so we're already at the number of large claimants now that we usually have for the entire year. So they are projecting that that trend will continue.
So you need to put some bubble wrap around people.
yeah, bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, anything else? Any other questions? All right, thank you. Chad's gonna try and make it positive.
Yeah, now that Trevor made us all sick, we're gonna rush to the urgent care and increase our health care costs now. Thanks, Trevor. I'm just gonna give an overview of our financial situation. We just finished our fiscal year 2018. We're on a fiscal, not a calendar year. And our fiscal year is June 30. So these numbers reflect fiscal year 18 and 17. And up at the top, we have some key indicators that we kind of look at to see how things are going. Inpatient admissions for the year of 2018, we had 758. That's 7% less than what we had in 17. So our inpatient was down some in this past year. The floor folks and others may think that that's not correct, but that does not include like outpatient surgery that may go to the floor for recovery or some of those kind of things. Surgery visits at 1,997, that was up 12%. So the surgery department's been busy with surgeries. And now these next three kind of go together. You've got your ER visits, we had 3,100 of them. That's a 10% decrease from the previous year. And we had our clinic visits of 31,535, which is a decrease of 8%. But the urgent care visits, which we didn't have until August of last year, there's 2,700, 2,780 of those. So when we went into the urgent care, we knew that, and we hoped, that would take some pressure off of the ER so that people with minor things could go to the urgent care and not have to pay for an emergency room. And that statistics are indicating that that is happening. And also we figured that some folks would go to the urgent care instead of the clinic, possibly for flu symptoms or something, or over a weekend when the clinic was closed. So you can see kind of a shift going on there between those three areas. Overall, it's about the same. Total visits, probably even a little more than the previous year. So, and you'll see in the next slide how we're doing so far this year. This next section is the financial performance. 2018, we ended up with 70.6 million in gross revenues. That's all of our charges that we billed. We had budgeted 66.5, so we came in like 4 million more than what we had budgeted. And we were excited about that because if you recall that Dr. Tallarico had left us in August, and orthopedics is a big portion of our revenues. So we were a little worried we wouldn't meet our budget, and then we ended up surpassing it by 4 million. So thank you to all of you for all the efforts you did to help in, do that. And then the second line item here is we only was over our expenses by some there, and we still came in with a bigger operating income. This operating income, when you take a look at that, just think of, it's a quick indicator, a quick glance to see how much cash you've actually brought in from your operations. So when you look at that, where our operating income was 4.7 million, we budgeted 3.6, so we ended up with more cash generated that we could use than what we had budgeted. So that tells, when you look at that, and then you look at, okay, we had a capital budget of 3.2 million. So the money that we generated, the cash that we brought in, was able to cover that those capital expenditures. And then we still had enough to pay down our debt responsibility that we had. And then there was still some left to put into reserves, because we want to make sure we keep our reserves up, so when things like property in Alpine comes up, or other things that we hadn't budgeted for, unexpected opportunities, that we have that reserve there for us to use for those kind of things. So that's always a good number to quickly look at to see how you're doing, because that's after all of your expenses are done. This non-operating revenue, the majority of that is our tax revenue that comes in. Then some interest income, those kind of things, but the majority of it's the tax revenue, which is about 650, 670,000 a year. It's not a big number. So our net income.
That is an important takeaway that I think is often a misperception, is our tax revenue is less than 1% of our total revenues. Less than 1%.
Yeah, it's just a little drop in the bucket, you know, and that a lot of people think that we're getting a lot more than that. Net income, we ended up with 2.4. We had budgeted 1.3. So fiscal year 2018 came out, after you do this 3 times, your tongue starts to turned out better than we had expected. So it was a good year for us. Our profit margin, which is taking net income divided by your net revenue, to see how well you did with a profit. We had 4.9. We had budgeted 2.8. Our days in accounts receivable. This is a calculation that we do to see how fast the money's turning around. Once it's billed, how long does it take to get the cash through the door? And we're at 45 days as of the end of 2018. I looked at some statistics that DZA provides us. They're our auditors. And other CAWs in our region, their AR days are about 60. So we're doing better than the average CAW in our region at 45, which is really good. We just kind of had a little goal. We want to stay at least below 50 on that. Cash on hand. This is a calculation that we use to see, okay, if we didn't have any more revenue or any more patients come through the door, they stopped coming, how long could we operate as a facility with our current expenses without any cash coming in? And we're at 113 days. The average CAW in our region is 87 days cash on hand. So we have a better cash on hand. We would like to see it higher than, definitely higher than 100. But we've got a revenue covenant with Wells Fargo, who has loaned us money to maintain that at least at 90. And because of all the construction and things we've done, we finally got it up over 100 this past year again. But that would, of course, we always want that to be as high as we possibly can. This is just this year's first 2 months. It's only 2 months worth of data, so it's not, you can't really take much from it. But the inpatient admissions, you can see how many we've had each month, and it's 11% less than it was the previous year, and you saw that in the previous slide that 18 was less than 17. Surgery visits are up 15% already in the first 2 months of this year. And then you can see the same trends with the ER, urgent care, and clinic. ER and clinic are down, and the urgent care visits are replacing or filling in those gaps. And We don't really have any trends, of course, with the urgent care because it didn't start until mid-October. So once we get some full year there, we can kind of monitor that. Gross operating revenue, we had actual 12.1 come in the first 2 months. We budgeted 12.4, so we're 2% below what we had budgeted, which isn't bad at all. Operating expenses were 7% lower in their expenses than what we had budgeted. So kudos to all of you folks for trying to keep track of those expenses and your overtime and those type of things. We've generated about $309,000 in cash so far this year that we can use toward our capital projects and things. But we've got a net loss of $67,000, but we had budgeted $206,000. And you know, the budget on this every month fluctuates so much that you know, you kind of stabbing in the dark at this, you don't really know, because last year August was our best month. This year it wasn't. It isn't going to be our best month. So it just fluctuates a lot. Profit margin was minus 0.8. We're budgeted for 1.8. AR days we talked about, we're at 45. Our cash on hand dropped a little bit because we made some payments. We're at 111. So overall, financially, we're pretty strong still, doing well. And this year, so far, is looking pretty good for us. So any questions? Okay. You can wake them up again, Bren.
I just want to give a quick update on the construction. So the Thane Clinic, we are operational, so we're in that space. They're seeing patients. It's not unusual, but when you move to a new space, there's some fine tuning that needs to be done, some details that need to be corrected. And so what we've noticed when we moved into that clinic, that there's not enough noise. And so here there's a lot of mechanical noise, there's the projector here, but there it is really, really quiet. And so everyone can hear everyone else. And so we've had to make some modifications. So we've put some insulation above the ceiling. They're adding some white noise in the attic. I think they're adding some other ambient noise so that everyone can't hear each other so well. And so that's really the challenge that we've had since we moved in, is to just make sure that it's more confidential because it's just such a quiet space. So even though the construction's the same as the construction here, there's just not as much background noise. And so we're trying to correct some of those things. The therapy building in Thane, so therapy services moved over to the old library. And so they're starting construction and working hard on getting that clinic ready, therapy clinic ready, and then the therapy pool in there. And then we believe that it'll be either the end of this year or the very beginning of next year that building will be complete. Since there aren't as many projects going on, that crew has been able to just focus primarily on that site location, and so the construction will go faster than some of the other projects have recently. And then Salt River Orthopedics, been a lot of patients from that team and working in half of the space. And so we thank them because
We're cozy.
yes, you've been cozy for a while.
For a long time.
And so we're getting close. So painting is, I don't think it's done, but it's at least started. And so that should be done within a few weeks, and so that they can have the rest of their building back for patient care and team space. And then Alpine, the temporary modular building for urgent care, is there on the site, so next to the current clinic. And it has been set, and so they're just finalizing the foundation and base, and then the utilities.
And there's no roof on it.
There will be a roof.
It's like, it just seems so weird that they brought that
And I haven't
in
even
there,
seen
no
it yet.
roof.
Starting, I mean, I've seen it, I see it every day,
I
and every
see-
day
yeah.
the roof gets to be more of a roof.
Yeah, I went by there yesterday and I'm like, why does it now have a roof?
Yeah, it will.
It was transport.
Okay.
Well, the original plan was to have a flat roof, which they could have transported.
Oh, I see.
But it is a requirement in the Alpine that it has to be a pitched roof.
Gotcha.
And so then they're having to build that.
Okay.
That's why. And so that should be operational October 8th, and that'll be open from 7 to 7, 7 days a week will be the hours. And then the Alpine land purchase, and so we are proceeding with purchasing the land that's adjacent to the new KJ's convenience store. And so towards the entrance of the subdivision, the Alpine Meadow subdivision, on the same side as the fireworks stand, but not as far down. It's right on the entrance of that Alpine subdivision. And so that'll be about 6 acres right there on that corner by the stoplight. So the plan right now is to, which we will verify and start design, will be urgent care, so temporary urgent care, permanent urgent care, primary care clinic, specialty clinic, therapy, and then we'll consider surgical services. So that's the thought, that's what we're looking at. Questions on construction update? And then just an update on physicians and provider recruitment. And so we will have a new physician, Dr. Sharp, that'll start probably more towards November, and that'll be Alpine and Vane. And so when Dr. Cottom came and became the hospitalist, we didn't backfill that position, so we've been short for primary care access there. And then we're also short here in Afton, which we've heard, and I've heard from the community. And so we continue to look for another physician, so family practice or internal medicine here in Afton as well. We will add a physician assistant to urgent care to be able to staff those 2 urgent care clinics. And then we've been successful in hiring our second general surgeon. It's really, really hard to have a one-person show for a specialty like that, all of the call. And so in the summer, we'll have Dr. Josh Morgan, who will be coming out of residency, join Dr. Green. So, any questions on this? And then pulmonology, we've just contracted with Dr. Ford out of Portneuf to do some of our reads, and then we'll see what we can get for on-site outreach clinics.
Quick question. One of the hats I wear is I serve as a volunteer with the North Lincoln County Early Childhood Coalition. And invariably in all of our meetings, something that keeps getting brought up is, when we'll start IMAPs and have a pediatrician. And so is there any talks on that front, any collaboration there? Like, where, is that something that's going to happen?
It is on the strategic plan. We just haven't determined the exact timing of that and how that, is it a part-time, full-time, or we haven't defined what that would look like, but it is on the strategic plan, yes.
Perfect.
And it's been requested frequently. That one is, as you know, it's a little difficult because for the average kid, they don't need a pediatrician. Family practice is great, and so it's really just a preference for most, right? If they want a pediatrician or a family practice physician, but there are some that do, and so they are leaving the valley in that case. Yeah.
What kind of strides or direction going in for like social workers or psychologists here on staff, or any direction in that? Are we moving in that direction at all?
So the question was about social work, probably more embedded social workers within the clinic. There are no concrete plans at this point, especially this year. We've had some preliminary discussions on we need to create a plan, but I think the ideal end destination is integrated behavioral health, and so that we have masters, trained social workers within the clinic for those mental health needs. And then for those beyond that, that we would have a psychologist or a psychiatrist that could take care of those needs. I would love to get there. I think it will take us several years to get to that point. And that could be with a partnership with High Country or within Star Valley Medical Center. That decision, of course, hasn't been made either. Other questions? Did everyone meet Hannah? She missed her intro. You want to stand up and introduce yourself, Hannah?
I'm Hannah. I'm a diet tech. I lived here for about 5 years.
And where'd you move from?
Sheridan.
Hannah, welcome.
Welcome.
And then a quick word on accountable care organizations, and this was just an update from a couple months ago when I talked about it. We're still set to join an ACO in January, and what we're focused on right now is really the pre-work and pre-learning that we need to do as an organization. Right now the focus has been defining a position which has been posted or will soon be posted, a population health nurse. And the job will be this person's job will be to interface with the ACO, then also help within the clinic to create the necessary systems, whether it's the processes or the information systems, to be able to better track, monitor, and improve the preventative screenings that we provide all patients. In particular, there's a big focus on and will be a big focus on annual wellness visits, especially for that benefit for Medicare patients. Where we'd really like to get to is be like the dentist's office, to be honest. I mean, if you think about it, we're kind of backwards in healthcare. I mean, the dental office has it right as far as they send you a card and says it's time for your visit and you're cleaning, and then they call you to help schedule that appointment. And then we kind of wait. We wait for patients to call us when they need something or when they're sick. Where we'd really like to get to, hey, it's time for your annual physical, it's time for your annual wellness visit. And so we need to have systems to identify when it's time for those screenings and those visits. And then we need to be proactive in calling and reaching out to those patients to schedule those visits, instead of expecting that they will just come in. We don't know exactly how many patients actually come in for the visits, but I would assume that it's probably 10% or less.
That would help with denied claims. We have patients that come in like 2 weeks before they should have, and Medicare will deny it because they came in 2 weeks too early.
Right.
So things like that might help them.
Yeah, so we would have the time frame on when they should come. Good point, Judy. Any questions on this? More to come? And then,
Go ahead. I have it for you.
I know the one. What was the other?
Hudson?
Hudson. Yeah, so Hudson, who has been our, one and only sleep lab tech, and so he's ran the entire sleep lab for the last, I think, 11 years. And so he's retiring. And so he's transitioning right now to Oscar, who's recently took that position. And so we wish Hudson well in his retirement. If you see him, which you probably rarely do because he's in his sleep lab, or if you see him around, just thank him for his service. And then Connie, so the physician clinic director, she's made the decision to retire after 43 years at Star Valley Medical Center. And so she'll retire at the end of the year, assuming we find a replacement. If not, I think she'll help us out. But she plans on retiring at the end of the year. And so, again, please thank her. And then we'll be sure to have a nice celebration and party for her, given that, 43 years. And that is pretty remarkable. And we're going to miss her And I know that's a hard decision for her, but please thank her for that service. Anything I missed on that?
Very good. Most of you in here are younger than 43 years, so you don't know how long she's been here. Going back to the pediatrician and a few other things, we're conducting a community health needs assessment. We've contracted with the National Rural Healthcare Resource Center, who is helping us do this. A couple of weeks ago, they sent out a survey to 680 random residents of Star Valley. Did anybody here receive one? Our last group, we had 3 staff members that received them, which was kind of amazing, I thought, out of 14,000 people. Those will be going back to them so they can evaluate them. They had a consultant here last week for a couple of days that held some face-to-face focus groups with the community. And then they're going to be taking some regional, state, and national data and compiling all of it into a nice report and sending it to us. So in December, we'll give you an update as to what we learned from that. And that will help us strategically. You know, we hear from the community, do we need a pediatrician, OBGYN? Do we need more orthodontists, chiropractors? Heaven forbid dentists. We have enough dentists in the valley. But there's always somebody needs something else. So we'll be sharing that information around. We have created a little survey. If you guys log on either through your phones or your computer to that, today you can take a little survey. There's just 3 questions on there that we pulled off just to get a random sampling.
Joel Johnson, 572 should be Joel Johnson, 572.
Okay, I apologize. So Joel Johnson, as I was typing it. It will only allow 25 people to take it at a time. So if you go in and take it and it's full, within an hour or so after this, I'll clear it out and you can take it again. And then Friday, in the Friday flyer, we'll show some results of what came up. So I'll give you a minute to look at that. TOLLEV.com/JOEL.JOHNSON572. Sorry, I forgot the dot. So, okay. What is October? What color does October represent?
Pink.
Pink. We got 2 of them up here. They're wearing their pink. They're ready for it, ready to go. So, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We do some celebrations throughout the month. Believe it or not, next week is October. Not quite sure where September went, or July, August, or June. But on Wednesday, a week from today, we're going to hold break for breakfast. So as you're traveling into work in the morning between 7 and 9, you can stop off in Alpine Thane here or Cokeville and pick up a quick continental breakfast with a little gift bag. We've got Paint the Pink Night. This is something brand new that we're doing. There's a lady in the valley that holds paint nights where you can go and learn how to paint. Well, we've worked a deal with her she's going to host a pink night. So we've got a wonderful painting that you can do. You can register on our website right now for that. Any of the funds that we raise from that are going to help women within the valley that are underinsured so they can get mammographies or mammograms on a regular basis and help out. So that's a new event. We're pretty excited about that. Crystal, our lead mammographer, put that together. And then, of course, Shawnee's very excited about this day. The 17th is our walk-in mammo day. So that particular day, we don't require appointments. So women can walk in between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. and we get them in as quickly as possible on a first-come, first-served basis. And that's usually a pretty day. I think a pretty busy day, around 40.
Yeah, we got about in 30s.
You know, high 30s. So that's a pretty busy day for that. No appointment necessary. So guys, tell your women about it as well. Get them in here if they've not done it before. And then this year is the voting. It's political time. How many board members do we have on the hospital board? 7. How many seats are open this year? 5. 5 seats are open. Typically it's 4 and 3, but during the last election, one of those people got off early, so we had to appoint somebody. Once the election comes around, they have to rerun. So this year we have 4 4-year seats and 4 4-year term seats and 1 2-year term seat. So on October 24th, here in this room at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a Meet the Candidate night. So I really encourage you all to come, anybody you know in the community that may be interested, because these folks that get voted in help direct the hospital for the future. So we're going to have SVI Media broadcasting at that night as well, but we'd like to fill the room. The community will be welcome to email in questions, or people that night can write down some questions. We'll have a moderator asking them. but it's an opportunity to get to know them. So when you go to the polls, you'll have an idea who to vote for. For the 4-year seats, we have 6 candidates running for those. For the 2-year seats, we have 2 candidates running for the 1 seat. So it's fairly contested this year.
What day of the week is that?
It's Wednesday, the 24th of October.
And you said it'll be broadcasted too?
It'll be broadcasted as well through SVI Media. We'd like to fill the room here as much as possible, but for those of you that can't come down, if it's too cold or late at night to come out. So we can broadcast it as well. So, any questions about these? Anything else coming up? The slide earlier about asking administration if you had any questions, anything that Bren hasn't covered, or rumors, ideas, thoughts?
I just have some things from covering admissions that come up from people. When I was filling in this summer, I had a couple of different times, all in the same week, people asked me if we had an ATM. That was weird. First time ever that happened. Also, I had a couple of different times, people came to our admission desk for surgery. They said the letter or whatever they got, people said just come to the admissions desk. So they were a little confused of where to go for surgery. So I don't know if they're not getting, directions exactly where to go, or they misunderstood. That happened a couple of times this summer. And then, would it be possible, we talked about it a long time ago when we was having our roundings in the stoplight, about getting a payment box over at the business services building. We get a lot of people who just walk in just to drop off a payment. Is there any way we could just get a payment